This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Wide receiver 3 is so interesting that the Eagles might go somewhere else to acquire a player, and this would be a huge move by the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to be talking about the offensive line. We're going to be talking about Kenny Pickett because Eagle fans have a lot of questions after Nick's comments from after the game. And what is the future at the backup quarterback position? Is this a smokescreen? We're going to find out, so let's talk about it all.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Today's going to go some news on the Philadelphia Eagles, as usual. Now, wide receiver 3 is an interesting position for us because, it's been a position where it's been a weakness. It's been underutilized. We haven't gotten the best talent at that position. Really, the best talent we've had at that position that was the most productive was really with Nelson Agholor in 2017, to be honest with you. And his 1 year that he had in Philadelphia, or his one good year in Philadelphia that he had, that was really the last year. Quinn, obviously, Quez Watkins, couldn't handle the big moments. And Olamide Zaccheaus really never was given an opportunity, was really given a chance. Which is interesting. So, there's changes being made. Obviously, Britton Covey having a good camp, but between not being the best blocker, but obviously being a good receiver in open space and used on pre-snap motion and kind of using his speed on, certain downs, they can use him as a specific down type receiver. If that's how they want to use him, that's fine. Why did he have 13% of the snaps in this game if this competition is really still wide open? Is he the starting wide receiver 3 right now because of the less snaps he had? I highly doubt it. Anaya Smith has done absolutely nothing, so I'm not even going to waste my time on that. Johnny Wilson had a concussion, which really sucked because he missed a lot of valuable time in that game. I don't know what he did in the joint practices, but for the game, missing that game is huge. So, needs more work next week. Johnny Wilson, I don't think, is the starting receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles either. And Paris Campbell, he was pretty much the leading receiver, way ahead of everybody during training camp when we had no pads on. Then we got to full pads for a couple days. Then he had the groin injury. He was hurt last year with the Giants. He was hurt this year now with the Eagles in the offseason program. And we haven't seen him against other talent yet. We haven't seen him in a preseason game. Can he be that guy for us? Can he stay healthy? So everything is so down in the dumps right now. Now, this is a move the Eagles could make, and this was coming from the grapevine of the Washington Commanders because it's starting to look like right now that Jahan Dotson might be on the bubble of not even being on the roster or even hitting the practice squad. That's how bad it is. Okay, Jahan Dotson can play inside, outside. That speed that he has, reliable hands, could do almost anything you want him to do. I think it would be a perfect fit in Philadelphia. So, behind the scenes of what's been going on at Washington Commanders camp, because I really haven't been following it, is that it looks like Jahan Dotson feels like he's the guy at number 2, but from what Dan Quinn wants, it just seems like he doesn't like him that much. I don't know. So if he's not going to get the number 2 spot, he might not even get the number 3 spot at this point. I mean, Dan Quinn's just not a fan of Jahan Dotson right now as just to make the team in general or to be, a late depth, receiver on that team, So Jahan Dotson says, hey, Dan Quinn didn't draft me. He's a different coach with a different view of things. And I get it. Sometimes head coaches come to teams that have some talent and feel like that talented player just doesn't fit into what they do offensively. Dan Quinn's a defensive-minded coach, obviously, so how much do you take into that? But there is a good chance, if Jahan Dotson doesn't make wider, he might request a trade. He might not even want to be a depth guy. He might, hitting practice squad, that would just be really stupid right now for Jahan Dotson. And think this would be, and trust me, Eagle fans are going to get pissed and say, why are you putting out fake stuff? And it's not fake. This is really happening. Jahan Dotson might be on the outs. He's on the bubble right now and could be in the mix, for a trade. I don't think he would last. I don't think they'd put him on waivers. That kind of makes no sense. That's a highly skilled player to go on waivers, somebody would pick him up in a half a second. The Eagles are in the middle of the pack on the waiver wire list, so they probably would have no shot. It would have to take some type of trade to get him to Philadelphia. What is it going to cost? Whether it's this move or John Mechie, there was rumors from Yahoo Sports about Alan Lazard, and I don't know who they're going to get at this point at wide receiver 3. I don't think they found their guy yet, unless I see what Paris Campbell can do, against opponents, because we haven't seen it yet. As you're missing time, you're finally limited in practice, which he was for the joint practices with the Patriots, but you're not in these preseason games. I think these are very valuable. These are, so Paris Campbell, it's even worse for him because he couldn't play in joint practices at all. Joint practices, he couldn't do anything. He was limited. He was doing some limited work and then couldn't even play in the preseason game. So we're going to rely on a third preseason game to see if Paris Campbell could be the number 3 receiver in Philadelphia right now. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure. So there is going to be a lot to go over, and we'll see what happens in the near future. But I would definitely keep this on the radar. I think Howie Roseman is. If they don't find what they're looking for, they're going to have Jahan Dotson trade for him, and then they're going to mix in some Johnny Wilson. They'll mix in. I think they're more mix and match type players for specific areas of the field, red zone, short field, middle of the field, whatever you want to call it. They'll use those guys for certain plays, and, Kellen Moore will be very creative with all of that. So I think you're going to have more of a mix and match, but I don't think we have found our primary guy yet, and that's really where we've been going this whole entire time. Now, offensive line was interesting even for the second game. Now, Mekhi Becton was on the sideline, no pads, and if Mekhi Becton is not getting any snaps right now, he's laughing it up with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata on the sideline and having a great time. If he's already not in pads, not even getting like a series or two, the guy is starting at right guard. Now, obviously, with the Tyler Steen, it's been the Tyler Steen, Mekhi Becton competition. It seems like, Jeff Stoutland has brought the best out of Mekhi Becton at this point, and that's fantastic. I can't really complain about it so much. So if Tyler Steen is hurt, and this is the second injury already from Tyler Steen, with Mekhi Becton being there, who do you have, just in case Tyler Steen can't stay healthy, who do you have as a really good backup? And I think potentially could be a starting right guard if Mekhi Becton plays well and Lane Johnson retires in a couple years. I feel like Mekhi Becton could move to right tackle at some point. And no other than Trevor Keegan could be moving into the mix at right guard. Now, Keegan, obviously a 3-year starter in Michigan, national champion. Okay, didn't give up a sack, I think, for 2 years. Captain, big vocal voice, grit, tough. So this is really the statistics going through his 2 preseason games. 73 pass block snaps. He didn't give up a sack at all. No QB hits allowed. 81.0 pass blocking grade. Best on the team. Okay? And on top of everything else, he played 60-something snaps, which I think was all the snaps. I forgot the specific number, but he played all the snaps in preseason, the second game, which is fantastic. So he got a lot of snaps. Keegan, had a little bit of an injury in the offseason, like earlier in the offseason, and then he was all right, thank God, because I think there is something there with Trevor Keegan. I like some of the other guys we have, but we're just talking about right guard because that's where the competition is right now, or where it was. And really, we need the depth behind it. So I think you're going to have Trevor Keegan backing up that right guard spot while Mekhi Becton is the starter. Tyler Steen, it's when you're not available, this is what's going to happen. And then you're going to have to claw your way back up, and do your thing once again, and fight for your spot again, because someone else is going to take advantage of that. And for the 5th round, you might have gotten a steal here with Trevor Keegan. So, I like Kennard. I like a bunch of guys that can play. Kennard can play guard and tackle. I think there's a really good mixed match of guys that you have in the offensive line. So Jeff Stoutland, I mean, it's amazing what this guy has done. And for a rookie coming in to be a backup primarily to, who knows, even if Tyler Steen comes back from injury, maybe it's the regular season, what happens? You know what I mean? What if Mekhi Becton has to be out for a game? Do they put in Trevor Keegan, or do they feel like Steen can go in there and play? It's going to be really interesting. So I like this mix and match. I like the offensive line, where it's heading. Mekhi Becton, who would have thought? It was a low-risk, high-reward move that seemed to have panned out for the Eagles. Every Jet fan in the world was saying how not healthy he was going to be, that he gets injured easily. And, you know, guys get banged up during the year. I totally get that 100%, but I think this is pretty exciting. So nice to see draft picks, especially late draft picks, are really turning up. Jeff Stoutland's the best offensive line coach in the league, and it's so nice. It's so awesome. But now, for a word from our sponsors. If I'm the betting man, and I am, and you're rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the redemption year for Jalen Hurts. This is the year we get the bad taste out of our mouths from last season. If I'm going all in, ride or die with a Super Bowl and bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia for a second time, you need to go to BetUS, and I'm not wasting any time with it. I'm putting $500 down as the risk and getting $7,000 back at the end of the year, because this offense is going to be explosive. This defense by Vic Fangio is going to be dynamic. New customers for BetUS get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. You can't pass up on this for the most important season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Check the link in the description below, and I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring this video. Now, last thing I want to talk about today is obviously Kenny Pickett. This has really been the main question of where this whole thing is going. Is it smoke screens? Is it BS? You know, if I don't want the Eagles to keep Kenny Pickett, or Nick to keep Kenny Pickett, just because they gave up draft picks for him. Okay, not even give up draft picks. You switched a 3rd round and took the Steelers' 4th round pick. Okay, I wasn't a big fan of the trade. Was I making a big deal about it? No, but I figured this is the type of guy they're going to bring in. They're going to get value on him as much as possible, build up his value, and then kind of, you know, trade him for some draft capital. How much, I don't know. And by the way, he's been playing a lot of dump-off passes, just trying to garnish his value a little bit more. I don't know, some of the short passes and, you know, just not really doing too much. The guy can't throw over 10 yards. We've seen what he did running into his own lineman trying to get upfield. I mean, it just looked bad in general. I figured because when Kenny Pickett was starting in this game, in the second preseason game, I figured it was only because that Kenny Pickett needs more work. But it seems like post-game of the preseason 2 game against the Patriots, it seems like, oh, Kenny Pickett's the number 2, the backup. You know, that's what we were hearing. Like, why are you not giving Tanner McKee a fair shot with the better talent in the first half? I don't get this. Why can't Kenny Pickett share reps with Will Grier in the second half? Why does it have to be? Seriously, I just don't get it. Why are you not giving, like, see, last year they had the excuse with Tanner McKee. But Tanner McKee played good last offseason in the preseason. They had the excuse of, oh, well, they had, he played the, not of the best talent, and they had some like excuse for it. Then play him against the better talent. What is the problem? What are we doing here? Okay, we've seen how calm, cool, and collective Tanner McKee is and what he could do. You know what I mean? The throw is just automatic, calm. Like, I've never seen a guy so calm in the pocket between Kenny Pickett and his horrible awareness, bad throwing, bad decision making. It's just really horrible. I don't know what's going to come of this. I really hope he gets traded. Obviously, Matt Corral signed with the Vikings, so that's not going to happen. And, I don't know. This could be something down the road. It might not happen right now. But McKee should be the number 2. Will Grier looked better as well. They both did. Kenny Pickett looked the worst out of anybody. And on top of everything else, between Tanner McKee was like 14 for 16 or 14 for 17 for like 140 yards, something like that. I mean, he still had 2 receivers. I think a couple guys dropped balls. I know Nagata dropped one, and he had a good day. And I think another, I don't know, it was a tight end or somebody else dropped one that was right into their hands. So McKee is putting the ball in the right spots, and sometimes the receivers are making the quarterback look worse, but it's really on them at the end of the day. So, I mean, I don't want them to keep a guy like Kenny Pickett just because of, well, we swapped draft picks, and I don't want to hear that. I don't even know how this guy was a first rounder, honestly. Like, I don't know how this guy even passed as a first rounder. And I can't believe the Eagles actually had a lot of interest in him in 2022. I'm shocked that they even had interest that much. And they had a lot of tape on him, so they decided to trade for him. I wasn't a fan of it whatsoever. So I don't know where this is going. If Kenny Pickett becomes the number 2, you better run the ball with Saquon Barkley 35 times. You better run the ball, period, 35 times. I'm not even kidding, because even with this cast that's around Kenny Pickett, if Jalen Hurts has to be out for one game, knock on wood, I do not trust it whatsoever, and I don't even know. I honestly don't know. So please, Jalen Hurts, stay healthy this year if this is the case. But the other side of me thinks this is all BS. Why? Why would you have the worst guy is starting first? I mean, come on now. I mean, that it's already showing me that they want Kenny Pickett not to share any snaps with Will Grier or McKee. Like, he's got all the snaps to himself for a whole entire half, almost. Okay? It just makes it really suspect. Okay? The Eagles don't want to give away. I don't know. I don't know why they'll talk about the quarterback position for the backups, and I guess say that who's the backup, then talk about the linebacker position, say, oh, who's the starting linebackers? I guess because it's backup QB, they could come out with news because everyone knows Jalen Hurts is a starter, so I guess it's not anything telling. It's not really – I think other teams, Green Bay is going to know who's starting for the Philadelphia Eagles week 1 in Brazil. But this whole situation, smoke screen, BS. And if they really keep him at quarterback too, like seriously, like Tanner McKee should be traded and go somewhere else where he has a shot. At least as a backup quarterback somewhere as a number 2, and then really have the chance somewhere to maybe compete. I don't know, but I feel bad for Tanner McKee. Will Grier will always be a practice squad guy, third string quarterback, just because he's just the protege of Kellen Moore. He knows his system. He was the third string quarterback in Dallas with him, so I get all of that. But this Kenny Pickett thing is like, there's a lot of shade, a lot of disrespect going towards Tanner McKee, and that's not right. So I'm hoping this is a smokescreen. I hope this is fake. I hope this is just for people to for us to laugh at them, honestly, because that performance was atrocious and I absolutely hated it. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think of, Jahan Dotson? Is it realistic? Mekhi Becton, obviously. And how do you feel about Trevor Keegan, Tyler Steen, the backup right guard role? Is it set? And for the future as well. And let me know your thoughts on Kenny Pickett. It's not liking it at all. Not really good. And by the way, guys, click the link in the description below. I want to thank BetUS. BetUS for sponsoring this video. Get 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000, 24-hour cash payouts. So click the link and check out BetUS. And I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up? Follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.